Okay, good morning, team, and welcome to everyone and their note takers for jumping in today. We're about to kick off our fourth session of our data-driven insights, our SaaS masterclass with Bare Metrics. And I thank you all for those that have returned and have been able to see other presentations, and those that are joining us for the first time today. Hopefully you learned something new, and hopefully we can help you out in some places you might be struggling to set some basic standards within your SaaS company, or indeed any company that you're working with at this stage. So without further ado, let's jump into it. I will start to share my screen and we can get right into it. So who are we? We're Bare Metrics. We like to help entrepreneurs achieve their purpose. They are entrepreneurs that have started their business from scratch, those that have acquired a business, those that have moved into a business, and really want to succeed in whatever they are doing. We'd like to think we can help you see the future through our analytics and subscription insights tool. We want to remove the white noise that often comes in that flurry of activity in a startup. Automate the mundane so you don't have to worry about it. You know that it's all set. And we'd like to position ourselves as the experts in the SaaS analytics space, as well as how to grow effectively and scale over time. As an identity, we are a subscription analytics platform. We give you deep insights. We want to help uncover those insights to help you grow in all aspects, whether that's through new revenue, arresting churn, or expanding your current client base. We believe our system is the best out there to give you the confidence to make those strategic decisions and help you grow. Who am I to say that I can stand up here and tell you all this stuff? Well, I was in the army, in the Australian Army for over a decade. I moved into the corporate world after a bit of business training there and worked on digital projects and change management, particularly in digital implementation, implementing new systems, etc. I then got asked to move across into the SaaS and private equity space by a colleague of mine, and I jumped at the chance to experience something new. And I've been in this space for around about 6 years now. I've had the privilege of being able to attend Harvard Business School during that time and do some case study research on some larger businesses and larger organizations, which has really been able to give me an excellent frame of reference in how to apply fundamental business principles into small scale startups, into subscription-based businesses, and how that sometimes there are through lines, no matter how big the organization, that you can apply in your day-to-day. Outside of work, I'm a novice strongman. I like to lift and throw heavy things around. I'd like to think of myself as a golfer, but my handicap would indicate otherwise. I try to get out for a fish every now and then, but more importantly, dad and a husband in my day-to-day. So what we'll cover today, again, those that have been playing from home would have already seen we've done the first 3 sessions of following the data, bang the drum and no lead left behind. And today we are talking about holding hands. But what does that actually mean and why are we talking about it? Well, what we like to talk about in the sense of running a SaaS company and the benefit of working in a SaaS company as part of a private equity firm as well, is we start to see fundamental things that tend to work regardless of the business you're in. And this harks back to a way we actually used to train when we're in the military, in that at the start of your military career, you are never really taught how to fight in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Syria, wherever you might be deploying to. You're actually taught how to fight what we would call a war. And in that way, you understand that in each conflict you enter, there are some fundamental principles you should look to apply that will set you up for success regardless of the theater. This harks back all the way to The Art of War by Sun Tzu, and it's often used as a foundational text in how to understand strategic decision-making in the military. And you can see there, I've just plotted out sort of the core tenets of The Art of War as identified in the book. But what that speaks to me more so is that you can apply these tenets contextually to your situation. And that final line there by Sun Tzu, according as circumstances are favorable, one should modify one's plans. And that's what this is fundamentally about. These aren't the absolute answers to your problems or the absolute way you should do it, but we believe that they are some fundamental principles that you should have as your underlying hygiene in any SaaS company, and then test and adjust to see how they suit your business, your industry, your market, your customers, etc. So how have we translated that into how we do things? We have our core SaaS standards across every single company inside our private equity portfolio and inside Bare Metrics. And those core standards are bang the drum, no lead left behind, hold hands, sell to build, follow data, align the team, and run a tight ship. So as mentioned, this series has covered 4 of those, and I will look to do a continuing series on those that I haven't covered. But every single company in our fund, all of our sister companies within Baremetrics as well, have this poster on their wall somewhere. You can see mine sitting up here off to the side. And we like to refer to that when we're trying to get back to foundational principles on whether we're doing the right thing, are our goals aligned, and are we operating effectively? So I encourage you throughout this process, as you start to listen to what I say, don't take it as the answer, take it as an answer, and it gives you a method on how to think, not exactly what to think. Today, we're going to go through hold hands. So our foundational principles for hold hands are that our support request responses should be sub 5 minutes. Now, again, sub 5 minutes is a target for us. You might have a different time range that's more appropriate for your business hours, your client base. But for us, 5 minutes is backed by that idea that it shows we care and we are responding to our clients' requests. Can we jump on a call? One of the first things we should be saying to any support request that comes in, and I'll talk about why. Be active and not passive in our conversations, whether that's through support or sales. Be human, right? We don't need to be a sales robot. In the age of AI, that human touch can go a long way. We need to continually be developing our ICP, and I'll talk about how you can go through a thorough ICP development, that is ideal customer profile. And also the importance of post-close interactions. It's very easy to close a new customer, closed one in HubSpot, move to newsletter, and we don't talk to them again until we get a churn notice 2 months down the path, down the track. So support request response times under 5 minutes. Why should we do it, right? Well, our support reps, for one, should be on all alerts. That is to say, if you are on intercom, you should be having, and also you should make sure notifications are alerted on intercom. There should be syncs through Slack. There should be potentially email. Depending on what it is, you should set your support team up for success and ensure that they're actually being alerted when you do get a support ticket lodged via your automation system. Now, people will say, well, that's not scalable, right? Because when I get to the point where I'm getting all of these support requests come in, then I'm not going to be able to do it. Sure, there is a place for automation, okay? But there is also a place for aiming towards a sub 5 minute response time with some sort of relevant and valuable response. How do we make sure this is happening? We need to do regular audits. So you need to understand what dashboards you're looking at, what reports most reflect how quickly your support is answering. The snapshot there on the right is just an example I pulled from an intercom report that shows you how you can quickly have a look over time, how well your team are tracking. You can spread that date range out to see if you're moving out and away, and maybe that indicates that the tickets are getting too much and that support time needs to be evaluated. If you're cinching it down and you're getting really responsive, then that's great. And you can continue to work on that with your team. Where you are not able to hit that support request in under 5 minutes, you need to make sure your bot flow is helpful. It's not just going to sit them there and say, the team will be back tomorrow, right? The team will be back tomorrow. Have you seen this, that, and the other, right? Give them relevant, responsive articles. Go send them to your help docs. Send them somewhere that is actually going to try and help them, not just leave them in limbo. Again, in the age of AI now, you're likely going to have a pretty intelligent chatbot that will be able to interact with them somewhat. And if you're comfortable with that and you trust that process, then by all means go for it. It can be a very useful tool, but just ensure that it is helpful and it's accurate where possible. You don't want them lingering with outstanding questions and no timeline for when they're going to get a response. Can we jump on a call? This is the next principle I want to go through. So where do we jump on a call? Through a support chat where we've interacted over Slack, we've interacted over intercom, we've interacted over some sort of messaging tool, right? We really want to jump on a call when we know it will not be resolved quickly. If it's a quick back and forth to say, hey, I'm seeing this, are you seeing it as well? Yes, we are. We can fix it. Great. But if it can't be resolved quickly, let's get on a call, okay? There's a few reasons to do this. Now, automatically, I'm going to hear people saying, well, not everyone wants to jump on a call, and that's fair. All right. But if you need to ask more than one question and you start to see this chat history of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you realize that in a small scale team where you may have one support rep monitoring your chats at any given time, their time is now being absorbed by that chat and they've got to go back and forth in that. And all of a sudden there's a new chat in. I'm going to switch tools to that. This person's going to delay for a bit. Where really, if we can get on a call after there's more than one question, we don't treat it as a resolution. We treat it as a intelligence seeking activity. Okay. And straight away we get on there and say, hey, John, thanks for jumping on the call. I'm not going to be able to get you a response right away, but let me fully understand the problem so I can go to my team and get you a timeline. right? So having your reps that be comfortable that they're not seeking a resolution, what they're really trying to do is just increase the bandwidth of that conversation. You want to be able to move outside that chat. You want to be able to see their screen potentially. You want to be able to hear the emotion in their voice, right? How much pain are they currently suffering due to this shortfall in your system, due to this support issue they're experiencing? Increase the bandwidth. Don't seek a resolution. Just try and gather intelligence. The second part of that is it creates rapport. One, it shows you care. You're jumping online with a client. You're jumping online quickly within that 5-minute response time. You're showing them that you're invested in getting this resolved. This is a habit you need to work with your reps on. It is very uncomfortable for a lot of people, particularly support reps who have maybe a history in support where they are more inclined just to sit in a chatbot and type away. Getting them to that point of getting on a call with a client or a prospect is really important. The way that I've worked to overcome this in the past is pretty much based on that third point there. Understand that you don't need to have the answers. A lot of reps are hesitant to jump on call because they feel like they might disappoint the prospect, particularly if you're in the enterprise software space or if you're selling a product that's very technical. And as a support rep, your entire job is just to funnel prospects and queries to the right people. Then if you're on that call and they're asking you heavy tech questions you don't have the answers to, it can feel a little bit overwhelming. So what I would suggest there is to work with your reps, build their confidence in getting on a call, not to resolve the issue, but again, increase the bandwidth, gather intelligence, make them feel heard, build rapport, and then get them off to the right party that needs to resolve that issue. It works so many times when you get on a call. I've worked with new success reps over the years, and the biggest thing they feel after the first few calls is relief and sort of like a, why wasn't I doing this earlier? Because it is easy when you're not trying to resolve it, right? Active and not passive. Now, there are plenty of examples out there. You can find blog posts on this. You can find behavioral economics textbooks on this. But it really is important in regards to how you communicate with a prospect or a lead, whether it's in success, whether it's in support, whether it is in sales. You need to own the conversation and you need to be very clear in how you're establishing next steps and velocity of that arrangement. So what I mean when I say that, a passive sentence would look like, and this can be done in spoken and it can be done in email as well, all right? But we think about a follow-up from a call. Hey, thanks for the meeting. Let me know if you'd like me to send any additional information. Completely passive, no motivation for either party to progress that conversation. There is nothing left to be said. Okay, if you'd like any additional information, you talk to me, all right? If I want to own that resolution, and if I want to own that, I'm going to go something more like, hey, it was great speaking with you today. Based on our discussion, I'll send over a proposal, a resolution, a something on Friday. And also I've scheduled us in for a follow-up next Tuesday, right? So now I've got the next level of information you require. We've got time, and I've now got a line in the sand of when you can expect something from me or when we're going to communicate next. Without that, we tend to get the follow-up from the prospect saying, hey, when are we doing this? Any update on this? Any update on that? Right? And you've lost control of that conversation. Give them a clear timeline. Give them indications of when things will be resolved. Second example there, we have a product that might help with that from a general query. Hey, do you do A, B, and C? Sure, we've got a product that might help with that. Let me know if you'd like some more information. Like, okay, yeah, I'll probably just keep clicking around, right? Hey, thanks for reaching out. Our product can absolutely help with that specific need you just identified. I'd be happy to walk through how it works. I've got 15 minutes tomorrow, or I've got 12 p.m. on Friday for a quick demo. Okay, narrow down that decision-making cycle. We're now not saying I've got some time this week. We're saying I've got time here and here, right? We're forcing them to make a decision, an A-B decision there. No, either of those times aren't available. Okay, what else can we do, right? But at least by putting those two in there, you've reduced that decision complexity. You've given them specifics. And again, ideally, it'll be thanks for reaching out. Our product can absolutely help with that need. Do you have time for a call right now? Okay, get them online then. The final example there, if you're ready to proceed, let me know and we can work on next steps. Again, this is a real drain, this one. We can work on next steps. No, right? We need to establish the next steps. Okay, we're talking about someone who's gone through a POC, an extended trial. We're now saying, hey, I can only assume we've now met the requirements considering how far along we are, right? We're pushing them down that decision-making cycle. So I formulated a detailed quote and I expect us to start on the 20th of November, 2024. Okay, that forces them to say, well, no, actually, no, we're not ready, right? But we've got the next step solidified in our mind. We now have the ability to push that conversation further. And what does it really mean overall? It's essentially who's got the ball. I like to use this, and I try and stay away from sporting analogies, etc., or sporting metaphors, whatever it might be. But really, to me, it is when you're in that conversation with a prospect or a client, you ideally have the ball at any given time. You pass it to them when you need something back from them. But when you do, you're very clear with that expectation and you have timelines set to when you expect something back. And that might look like something like, hey, Joe, I know we've been working together for a week. I really want to get you set up on this particular product. I've activated your trial. What I need you to do by Wednesday is reconfigure your settings on the integration side to make sure we're receiving the information correctly. I'll follow up by close of play Wednesday if I haven't seen that connection come through. Okay. So now they've got a checklist. I need to make sure that integration's been connected. And if they don't, you're going to hear from me that day. All right. Because it would be very easy for me to say, hey, Joe, thanks for all your work. You mentioned you're going to connect the integration. Let me know when that happens. Okay. Super passive, no real clear timelines, and the expectations are pretty low. That's actually going to happen. What it does do, it respects time and effort, okay? By communicating who has the ball and what is expected by both parties or what is going to be given by both parties, it gives respect to that time and effort associated with those tasks. There's also an element of building a psychological contract. And I like to do this a lot of time. It's like, hey, this is what you can expect from me over the next week. I'm going to do A, B, and C, right? That's easy. I'll give you this. Now, what I need from you is this, okay? A, B, and C. Even better, you can get into this process of saying, hey, Joe, what do you need from me in the next week? And they might say, well, I think I might do this, might do that. You go, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. Yeah, there's an amendment to part B here, and I can do that for you, C. Okay, Joe, no worries, thank you. What I'd like from you is, I want to invite to you for the teammate. I want to be able to see this report that you promised me, and I want to add this data integration that you mentioned to get us off the ground, okay? You understand both each other, you respect each other's time and effort to get a resolution to sale, the success problem, whatever it might be. This one's a big one, and this is a simple one, okay? Be human. When you get nervous, it's very easy to fall into a script. We like to see sales frameworks like the BANT framework. We like to see the ACE framework, whatever it might be, winning by design, whether it's gap selling, Sandler methodology. There's all these sales methodologies in how we should communicate with clients. But the fundamental thing for me is at least be human, right? Don't jump straight into the pitch. Don't jump straight into the resolution, wherever it might be. Try and connect with the individual on the other side. Take your time. Find some common ground, okay? Even if it is as benign as the weather, all right? It's something you can do, okay? It's something just to break down the barrier and decrease the nerves on both sides of the house, all right? Don't rush it. Take your time. Give them some time to communicate. Let them talk, right? If they want to have a chat about an upcoming event, right? An upcoming family gathering, an upcoming holiday. Let them talk, right? And it makes them feel heard, makes them feel like you're actually going to be there to listen to them. And then it's easy to create a segue into the chat. Joe, that sounds amazing. Look, I want to be really respectful of our time today. We've got 20 minutes. Is that still good for you? Yes. Okay, let's jump in, right? And then we can get into that. And you're still going to have that human element of the conversation and make sure it's broken down. So this is probably the most simple one. And a lot of people would say, well, yeah, obviously I want to do that. But it's one of those ones that can get lost, okay? As soon as you get nerves, as soon as you've got junior reps jumping in, they need to follow a script. They need to get a checklist done. They might have pressure to get through a certain amount of calls per day. They might have other sort of KPIs they're trying to hit. If they're very KPI driven, very structured, then the human element can quickly fall to the side and you can become nothing more than a soundbite that can be replaced by AI pretty quickly. So make sure we're human, make sure we push towards that at all times. Now, this one here, thorough ICP development, is something that is talked about a lot in our industry. Who is your ICP, right? Who are your customers? Where are they? What are they doing? In the work that I've done with ICPs in the past, I often see a target ICP and I see an internal ICP. And what do I mean when I say that? So generally, a target ICP is someone you want to work with, right? We're going to go through and we're actually going to see a breakdown by industry, by sub-industry, by title. I've got some examples coming up soon. Pain statement. What is the pain that they're experiencing that your product can resolve? Where are they located, right? How big is their business via employee headcount or revenue bands? And what tech stack are they using? These are some pretty common attributes you can use to build that ICP that you believe best represent the market you want to go after, okay? And this is generally where SaaS companies start. They start with a target ICP. They've identified some sort of pain they're solving for, and now they need to enter the market. The biggest mistake you can do is have too broad of an ICP to start with, because the ICP that gets you to your first million in annual revenue is probably going to be marginally different to the relevant that gets you to 5, to get you to 10, etc. So starting with something is important, but it will be developed over time. And I'll talk about that in the next slide. But these are the sort of attributes you can start to look at. There are tools out there to help you build. This Baremetrics automatically enrich all data through Clearbit. So we're able to build ICP attributes for you through your current customer base to help you find more. But you can also do this by analyzing your current customers, what connectors are they using, what tech stack are they on, etc. So just over here, you can see we'll look at some attributes that we want to go after that we believe are complementary tech elements to our product. We might see company tags in that sort of sub-industry range, what their market is, B2B, B2C, etc. Helps us narrow it down. And then what we start to do is to start to build profiles, okay? This is just an example profile of a previous company I worked with, but what we started to identify is that we had a real affinity for healthcare companies coming through the funnel. They were mainly out of the US, and what they were looking for really was security of their PII and HIPAA via the way they were managing their data. And so we knew we had a solution through that. So the pain there was trying to stand up data security for emerging industries in the healthcare space. They were generally consultancies because they would go in and consult to the bigger organizations, and their budget was pretty slim to do that. So we had an ICP there that we knew we could go after. We then build messaging around that. We build ads, we build landing pages, we build ebooks, discrete offerings, particular pricing tiers, whatever it might be, to test that ICP and see if the intelligence we have gathered is actually going to continue to increase sales. You'll see that you might have a separate ICP or a sub profile or a persona under that ICP as well. We start to talk about tech and software in the North America, Australia, and New Zealand, Europe region. So this is pretty global now. We're looking at small to medium business. We're looking at a different revenue band. And what they're suffering is the ability to decrease developer costs, right? And also automatically integrate with existing systems. Okay. We knew that was a big part of that conversation. So we've now developed a different message, a different target market, and we're going to go through there. Okay. ICP is obviously the smallest, most refined part of your total addressable market, down to your serviceable market, down to your individual niche. But it is important that you apply the thought process to this. This is probably the biggest example of a how to think, not what to think, in that we know we should identify our total market, we should identify the serviceable market, and then we should be able to identify the ICP. The components of your ICP will be different per company, as they should be, okay? Because that is the niche you're trying to go after before you can expand and scale over time. But the fundamental attributes are pretty good starting place for any ICP development. What does that mean over time? So look to your current customers. When you get that first tranche of customers, continually analyze how they're using their platform and then look backwards to see where they came from. Did they actually come in on that ICP? Because what I've found over time is that we have two different types of ICP that often come into our funnel, particularly when we're starting and we're trying to figure out our price point, we're trying to figure out our value proposition, our willingness to pay. And when we look into our current customers, we'll probably see a few of these. We'll probably see someone who's high friction, low value. What do I mean when I say that? Well, they're probably on a minimum subscription tier. They're a heavy burden on support, right? They're utilizing your platform to great effect in their environment, but they're ringing it for all it's worth, okay? So for me, that would be a high friction, low value ICP. Yes, they're finding value in our platform. And in this case, it might be, they're using the OSS version. They're using the lowest tier. They're barely paying for support, et cetera, or not paying for support at all. But yet the value they're providing to us is very minimal. So they're a high cost client. Okay, we can do without them. Our target ICP, though, should be low friction, high value. We're now looking at those where the ability to integrate our product inside their existing infrastructure was seamless, it was easy. They are low friction on support. We're actually more proactive to them because we recognize their high value. So we don't get tickets submitted from them often. We don't get weird queries for custom reports and customization. Okay. And they're on a mid to high tier based on their usage in general and their ease of use. So they're now low friction, high value ICP. They're the ones we want to go after, right? So I would now look to those to build that ICP. I would go back into the previous slide and go through those attributes and go, okay, of those low friction, high value customers I currently have, how do I get more of them? Where do they come from? What do I need to do to get more? Okay. That's where I look to. When I look at that high friction, low value customer, those that are extracting maximum value out of our platform without really returning me as much in return, I would say, do I necessarily want to avoid them, or do I want to push that ICP onto a separate funnel altogether, completely self-serve, right? No support. they can just do what they want to do. And if they churn, they churn, but we're still providing a service that solves their pain. Okay. These are the questions you need to ask. The ICP that gets you to 5 million annual revenue may not get you to 10. And that's what I said before. Okay. Again, this isn't a clear and cut rule, but what I've seen in my experience is that the best thing you can do in the early days, once you understand the general problem, is start to test your message through ICP development. So you test it on that healthcare space, you test it on that IT and services support space, you test it on the transport, the logistics, the up level, the down level, right? You're testing all these ICPs over time, and you're weeding your way to 5 million. By the time you get there, you're probably starting to see that thread, right? You start to see that through line of low friction, high value clients. And that's when you may well start to narrow your focus just on that, increased marketing spend, increased outbound, right? Start to really cultivate that ICP, and that gets you to that 10 million mark. Once you're at that 10 million, it's a whole other ball game. You're probably now looking to be able to expand your offerings to increase that ICP again, right? If you're not running at a particular vertical, you're probably then going to get wider. And what I've often seen is there's a stall between that 10 to 20 million ARR mark when you have to figure out where your next level of growth is going to come from. And more often, it is opening up a new ICP, an upmarket ICP, or an entirely new market with a sub-product. Okay, so ICP is not something you set and forget. It is something that you need to continually evaluate depending on your strategic goals and targets throughout those revenue milestones. All right, your 1 million one will generally come organically if you've got a decent product market fit. When you get to 5 million, you're starting to see a relative product market fit, particularly for a particular niche. 10 million similarly. And that journey between 10 and 20 is really where you're going to start to find out where do we need to go next. Continually review and adjust. As I said, this one's just an example here, looking internal and saying, hey, what are our current connectors? Which one offers the most value, right? And in this case, our MySQL connector was free. So we had a lot of people using that, but we also found that the free connector was used alongside our most highly valued commercial connector being SQL Server. So we started to move towards a SQL Server ICP to increase value there. So that's just an example of the things you can look at internally to build that ICP persona and profile. 30, 60, and 90-day engagement post-close. As I mentioned before, again, this sounds like this is something we definitely should be doing. Are we doing it? How do you treat your clients after they've closed? You've gone through all that effort, all that CAC to get them to close. And it is a folly of some startups, particularly VC-backed startups, where their core metric is new user acquisition or new user growth, wherein which all they're worried about is getting the close. Once they're closed, that's great. They're going to go use the product. Absolutely. We know they're going to use the product, right? Do you know they're using the product? Okay. Often we need to continue to build trust that our platform is providing value over time and is worth their continued investment. Okay. We need to start to focus on that LTV component. We need to ensure the value is realized. Are the things they worked on during your trial, during your POC, are they actually coming to fruition? Because a lot of the time, particularly when we're talking about enterprise software, the benefits aren't realized straight away, right? You're setting up systems to get to a point of benefit over time. There is a compounding effect on efficiency, on cost, on security, whatever it might be, that really is only going to occur over time. You don't want that to stall. You want to ensure that value promised during the POC, that glimmer of hope that was offered and successfully paid for, is going to continue to be realized. It allows you to identify expansion opportunities. So by talking to your champion, by talking to the individual that was most active in the demo environment, was the one that reached out to you in the first place after close, and that is bearing fruition, you start to have those conversations where it's like, hey, can we get an intro to your other transport department, to your manufacturing department? Hey, what other departments use the same systems you do in your multinational corporation? Okay. You start to identify expansion opportunities. Hey, you've been pushing up on your usage for this month. Why don't I get you onto an annual plan? And that way we decrease your monthly bill, but you'll see a longer term benefit, right? Things like that. We can add this product in. You will only do that if you're continually talking to your clients post-close. We are able to see early churn indicators, okay? If we're not monitoring those interactions post-close, then we're starting to see we're not missing those tickets that come in. Again, they start to turn into high friction clients. We start to see them dropping off their usage, maybe. Maybe our champion left the organization, all right? These are all red flags for churn and things we need to monitor. They only come to the surface if we have a thorough 30, 60, 90 post-close interaction. There is a balance of automated versus personal. Like I said at the start of this, it's very easy to throw our post-close one into a newsletter cadence. They'll get a blog post update every now and then. They might get a survey for a feature request, etc. But how much of that can you do automated versus how much of it should be personal? Ideally, you've got your platinum client list, your top 10, your top 20%, whatever it might be, that you want to really wrap up in cotton wool. And the leadership team, and more often the CEO, the general manager, the COO, whatever it might be, really should be doing at a minimum quarterly outreach to those clients just to say good day, just to tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, what can I do for you to increase the value we're providing you? Let's do a quick, we like to call them QBRs, quarterly business review, just to make sure that we're still operating the way you expect us to and that we're working together well. Okay. This again allows you to do those previous things, see any churn indicators, identify expansion, and ensure the value is being realized. A lot of people may not want to get on call, and that's fine. But having that hygiene, again, having that fundamental standard and the acknowledgement that if they did get on call, that would be hugely valuable. How many times would you love to get on a call with your top client to hear any problems they have with your system, hear anything about the opportunity they're experiencing because of it, and maybe, hey, can I get a review out of it, right? Here's a champion that has just told us how great our product is and how well it's been doing for them. Let's get a G2 review. Let's get some free marketing out of that. Hey, can we do a use case together? Can we do a study? Can we publish an ebook together? Can we get on this webinar together? Whatever it might be. You only do that if you're continually communicating with your clients post-close. This here is an example of this is a demo of the customer retention chart. What it shows to me is when I see clients that come to me with this, I look at this and I say, great. So in December, we onboarded 10 clients, right? We immediately lost a few, which is going to be normal for those that sign up and immediately realize it's not for them. But then I see this drop to 50% after 3 months. And I say, so we spent all this time and effort getting them onboarded. And again, this is relevant to whether you have high ASP or low ASP deals. But we've now, by month 5, churned 60% of that cohort. We spent all this time and effort getting them. Okay. And this doesn't speak to revenue, but it does speak to the gross customer number. This to me, what did we see in this cohort that could have prevented that churn? Let's have a look into this cohort and see what we did post-close to identify. This is what I'll say to people. I'll say, what did you do? Once these deals closed, let's have a look at the communications we had. Oh, we didn't have any. Okay, well, why not? Oh, well, most of our clients go like this. Okay, well, if most of your clients are able to stay on board at that 80% range, what was it about this cohort that was particularly, disappointing? Did we run a coupon maybe there? Was a discount we applied for that December cohort? Once the coupon expired, everyone left. Okay, we can just start to unpack things there, but we'd only do that if we're looking at post-close data, right? And cohort retention, cohort analysis. So ladies and gents, thank you all again. That does conclude the session of Hold Hands. It is one of those fundamental principles. Again, you need to figure out how you can apply that, how to think to your particular industry, your particular product, your clients, etc. But over these sessions, I've had a great time explaining these fundamental principles on how to run a SaaS company. I welcome any and all feedback that you may have. But fundamentally, we've covered follow the data, bang the drum, no lead left behind, and hold hands. All these presentations will be available via the Baremetrics website. We'll send out a follow-up email to all our participants, and they'll be put there in our academy as well. If anyone wants to have a one-on-one session with myself or my team to go through how you may be able to apply these principles in real time, please reach out, let me know. I'll be more than happy to jump on board, whether you're a Baremetrics client or not. I enjoy having these sessions with aspiring startup founders. So thank you all for your time, and I'll see you